Landscape contractors are recurring projects. If I had to quantify it at the start, it's going to be about $60,000 each added to my revenue. Probably as we build that relationship, that'll double over the next, year or so. I'm Trent Brown, founder of Groundbreak Design. That is a landscape design firm that specializes in taking people's yards from something that's a point of stress and anxiety in their lives, and we turn them into these backdrops for some of life's best moments.
For anyone that's maybe watching in the community who did KPI in the past, hasn't kind of been a part of some of the recent innovations, we run something we call a production sprint, where we work towards building an asset or doing some activity in the market to kind of really translate the work we're doing in a workshop, like kind of strategic thinking, planning, into execution, implementation, translate that stuff into real world assets you can go and leverage quickly. And we did this 30-day sprint of putting together a core brochure. And Trent, you did an amazing job of yours. I'm just going to bring it up. Talk us through the experience, kind of soup to nuts. What was it like kind of going through and creating it, and talk us through that journey?
So I loved the sprint. I thought that was a great concept. I think what I got most out of this process was that when you're trying to succinctly put something on a page, what you do, something you're passionate about, and communicate that in a way that is going to be received well by your target audience, that is difficult. That was very hard. And there was a lot of tweaking and a lot of sharing with the group and getting feedback, which was extremely valuable. Putting it out there, which actually was pretty hard for me. I would say I'm a bit of a perfectionist. I overthink things. I like to get it all done and then put this finished product out. And you guys talk about this all the time in the DENT program, being directionally correct and getting things out there, tested in the market, not in your mind. And so even just the practice of that was really beneficial for me just as an entrepreneur. There's really inspirational people in this group, and going through their brochures and how they think about things and how they communicate it to their target audience, I benefited from that a lot. It was hard also to find time running the business. We're still very much in a startup phase of this. I've been doing landscape design for over 15 years, but the company itself, Groundbreak Design, is still fairly new. And so trying to operate the business and design and do all that stuff, and then find time to put together a brochure, which I didn't outsource that. I put that all together myself, which was a lot of work, but I found it very rewarding to be going through each specific thing and really thinking about my pitch and my offering and the pain points for my clients. It is one thing. I love the master classes. It's another thing to take those kind of thoughts or what you've put together in those master classes and try to put it into an asset. That is a completely different experience.
When you went and created this, because again, well done. This looks really, really smart and really great. As you said, it forces you to get clear around who you are, some of the problem pieces, the messaging, even just establishing credibility. One of the things I didn't ask you before is like, why should people care? What makes you credible? And even just seeing it here in terms of 15 plus years of experience, industry recognized thought leader and author, 500 plus homeowners across Canada that you've worked with. This is one of those things that I think for many of anyone watching, as someone in the community, it's like you've got so much experience. You're standing on a mountain of great stories and examples and client case studies and incredible clients you've worked with and brands you're associated with, and little things that you probably take for granted, which actually are really important to communicate for your credibility and authority. Did this kind of help connect you to that mountain of value you're standing on?
It really did. I'm one of those people, it might resonate with other people in the group, but that has a little bit of imposter syndrome, right? I've been doing this for so long, but my journey so far over the past few years has been a lot of, oh my God, I'm awesome, things are great, like, yeah, of course, I kick ass, da da da. And then it's like, why would anyone work with me? Like, what am I doing? This is just a complete shit show. It kind of ebbs and flows all the way up, right? As I build this credibility and go through this process. When you start sharing these things and putting them out there and realizing like, okay, yeah, I am actually like, I do have a lot to offer. And when you take a step back from somebody who's not and try to see it through the eyes of somebody who's not in the industry or has been doing it for so long, you realize, yeah, okay, I do have a lot to offer. I am, on my way to becoming a key person of influence, and I have this credibility.
What was the biggest struggle in doing this and putting it together, or just generally in the KPI journey for you so far?
Time was a big one. You really need to prioritize you doing the brochure or doing that sprint at that time with everyone else versus a month from now or 2 months from now, prioritizing it. For me, that was a good practice to say, no, I'm not going to work on the urgent, non-important items. I'm going to set aside time twice a week or at least once a week to really think this through, work on this. That was a great practice for me. I benefited from that a lot because it's easy to get your head down, putting out fires and not thinking about, how you're generating more leads 3 months, 5 months, 6 months, a year down the road. Being able to see like, okay, I can do this. If I really want to, I can prioritize the time. The business doesn't fall apart. My world doesn't fall apart. That was a really good learning for me.
If you had to sort of summarize what's the ultimate triumph or victory for you, or some of the wins you may have even experienced already just in going through and doing this process, what comes to mind?
I have had some really good partnership opportunities come from this. I found that going through that process, I was able to tweak things specifically to my immediate need. So for example, the partnership kit could go out to a lot of different people, but I niched it down and have been sending things out specifically to landscape contractors and like garden associations to speak more in front of those groups. It might not be exactly what you guys told us to do, like from the template, but being able to see, okay, here's how I can use it in this scenario and this scenario and this scenario. One good example is from the brochure kit. I niched it down specifically to landscape contractors instead of homeowners. And this is something that they could use to send to their clients. And I had basic pricing based on the size of the lot. And I sent that out to them and said, if this makes your life easier, essentially, like you can just hand this off to a homeowner. This gets things going. It builds trust. It builds their professionalism and credibility. Not everyone went for it, of course, but I had some really great opportunities come from that. And now I'm designing. One of my big goals this year was to design more across different provinces. And so I have two new landscapers that I'm working with in Ontario. I'm based in Saskatchewan. A lot of my business is in BC. If I had to quantify it at the start, it's going to be about $60,000 each added to my revenue. Probably as we build that relationship, that'll double over the next, year or so.